The Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.
Hello all Cherries fans and hello all Leicester City fans. And it is the last preview of the 2024-25 season. It's a bit of an anticlimax for AFC Bournemouth. Europe is not going to be happening this season after our defeat at Manchester City's Etihad Stadium. Been a bit of an anticlimax all season for Leicester City, unfortunately for you guys. But hopefully, fingers crossed, better times will be coming very, very soon. But, of course, we have this game at the weekend between the two sides. Who is pumped up for it? Who knows? But somebody's got to win it, or we might both draw it. You never know. Never know. Now, to give a shout out to our sponsors, firstly, dentalonthebanks.co.uk. Dental on the Banks will help you with all your teeth repairs, so do get in contact with the team there. And also touchpointtelecoms.co.uk. Do contact Mark and all the team at Touchpoint Telecoms for all your business telephone needs. So, like I say, it's a bit of an anticlimax. And a bit of an anticlimax now, to be honest, because we do have a very special guest. He's a friend. He's a good man. But it's not somebody, it's not somebody famous. Of course, it is the one, the only Chris. And he's going to take the piss out of me, guaranteed. Hello, Chris. You all right?
Hello, mate. Well, I've had better weeks,
To be honest, same here as well. Same here in more ways than one. It's just been a bit of a shite week, hasn't it? Let's be fair.
Well, yeah. I mean, I told my neighbour to go forth and multiply, and of course, football-wise, we're like pigs in shit at the moment.
Well, it's good to have you on here. I did try a couple of other guests. I thought I would try, Stan Collymore. Stan Collymore didn't come back to me, unfortunately. Gary Lineker, he was otherwise in a bit of hot water. My friend Tom, he's currently touring. David is currently looking at the Sky at the moment and, writing a new book, which is exciting. Bonnie Blue, well, I don't want to say what she was into, but yes, so I'm stuck with you. There you are, Bonnie Blue, stuck with you.
I'm glad I was so far up the list, and to be honest with you, I thought you'd have Tommy Robinson on here, knowing the standard of your guests.
Oh dear.
Have you interviewed him yet?
No, and I'm not going to. I'm not going to, Chris. No way am I going to interview him. Not in a million years. I tell you what, he's going to try and get me banned from this platform.
Well, there's a few other names I could mention that will do that.
Oh dear. But yeah, it's been a shite week for us as well, Chris. It's been a naff week for you. It's been a naff season for you, to be perfectly honest. We unfortunately showed that we didn't have the staying power, put nicely. Of course, beat Forest 5-0 earlier on the season. That was the highlight. And we kind of...
You know what, mate? I'd swap my season for yours.
Oh dear! Do you know what? There was a rude connotation. You completely missed that there.
Did you? Well, I don't come down to your level, mate.
No, fair enough.
I mean, in fairness, we did a show. I don't know if you remember, about 6 weeks ago, and it was the last 8-9 weeks, whatever, of the season to go. Yeah. We were predicting where people might be. I know you were sort of confident of getting Europe, and in fairness to you, at that stage, Europe went down to about 15th. You know what I mean?
Yes.
There was a lot of places available, which, thanks to Arsenal, have shrunk a little bit. But look, you're in 11th. You haven't got any financial worries like we have. I mean, you may be disappointed with your season, but there's sort of 13 clubs underneath you that would swap places with you, especially two that are competing in a final tonight.
Well, yes, very much so. And, Manchester United and Spurs, of course, two teams that everybody say are big clubs. They're not big clubs. Look at the mighty AFC Bournemouth. And, of course, Leicester City, got the Premier League winners' trophy. Spurs haven't got that, have they? Man
I
United
still
had it.
say, well, Spurs haven't. Well, I'm wanting Man United tonight, in fairness. But look, we've had a good run, and football does come in cycles. We had Liverpool back in the 70s, 80s, then we had Man United. Recently, we've had Manchester City. We had our little, flash in the pan. We won the Premier League, we won the FA Cup, quarterfinals of the Champions League, semi-finals of the Conference League, Europe, 2 seasons running. A lot of clubs would take that.
Well, yeah,
Spurs would, let's be honest.
But very much so. We would take it, and let's be honest, it is like dating Margot Robbie for a year. Nobody can take it away from you, can they?
4 minutes, 32 seconds, and in that. I think that's
what?
Your record, mate.
Margot Robbie is just always the word that me and Chris just use.
Get down, Margot. Get down. Sorry.
I'm coming round. We'll have to change it to Mila Kunis next year,
Well,
yeah.
Let's be honest with you, beggars.
Fun. It's all a bit of fun. But I tell you what, let's talk about Rude Awakenings. Let's call it Rude Awakenings. Of course, you weren't a fan of Steve Cooper from the start because of his Forest connection.
No.
Is this going to correct me now?
I am. Do your homework. Get those researchers that work for you to get things right. No, I've wondered. He's got more runners than Philip Schofield. I tell you. We'll cut it out. Don't worry. I'll cut it out. I wanted Steve Cooper, and I would argue that with Steve Cooper, we may well have stayed up because the points that we were getting under him were actually more than these last few games, and we're relegated, so it doesn't matter. We're better than under Ruud van Nistelrooy.
Yeah,
I wanted him, but we just weren't playing. You've got to go for a style of football, and you've got to stick with it. And change into another manager that plays a different style of football to Enzo. The players, you could see the players didn't know whether they were coming or going. They just had 12 months of non-stop Enzo ball, and it got us promoted. And then Steve Cooper came in. His purchases weren't brilliant. Some of them have turned out all right. But at the time, we didn't particularly weren't keen on them. But then, of course, because, I think what did us was the fact that we won that PSR argument. And then suddenly we thought, we're not going to get a points deduction. We're going to stay up. But of course, it then didn't start to happen. And the chairman decided that time, he took that long to sack Brendan Rodgers. We were relegated. This time he couldn't wait to get rid of Steve Cooper.
Yeah.
He was saying that he didn't want him in the first place. It was all going on behind the scenes. Ruud was obviously at Man United. Man United said the new manager at Armour said we don't want you, Ruud. He'd beaten us twice, and our chairman thought, that'd be a good manager. He knows how to play football. No, he knows how to beat a shite team like Leicester. We've lost to Man United 4 times this season, and that must be a record. He's got no clue, absolutely no clue. You play the same team, the same players, the same formation, the same tactics, 15 times or so running, and you get the same outcome every time. If it was winning, fair enough, but no, you lose 15. We've got so many records. I don't mind losing if you tried something new.
Yeah.
Ruud, I'll tell you what, I'd sooner have COVID than have Ruud van Nistelrooy.
I'll tell you what, let me put a spin on this, Chris, because you know I like putting spin on things, especially when I'm sat opposite you. Right. So Burnley, of course, last season, of course,
Yes,
had Vincent Company in
yes,
charge. Vincent Company, of course, took Burnley down, playing the
he did.
same style all the way through the
He
season.
did.
He's now gone and won the Bundesliga, and Harry Kane's actually won a trophy.
Mm.
Um, is it potentially the players and not the manager?
No, the players have to take a bit of the blame. I'm not going to say they don't. Sometimes, I know it's not for me to blame sort of any individual player about face, but there is players out there that have just been awful. But look, we bought them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And some of those players weren't that bad under Enzo Maresca. Look, he's gone to. Vincent Company going to Bayern Munich is a bit like Brendan Rodgers going to Celtic. The
Hmm.
chances are he's going to win something.
Yeah.
So I don't actually hold out the fact that suddenly Vincent Company has become this fantastic, tactical genius because he's moved to Germany. He spoke German. That was one of the main points why he got the job. And he did play that style of football. And
Hmm.
like I say, let's be honest with you, there's two, maximum three teams in the title bid in Germany. It's like going to Spain and saying, "Oh, I've won it with Barcelona." No shit, Sherlock. You're always going to
Yeah.
win it with Barcelona. Saying, with Scotland. So I don't hold out. But no, the players, everyone's going to take a turn, and it's going to be interesting because I've done a series. If you don't mind me just mentioning it,
Yeah.
I've
Go
done
for
a
it.
series on my channel, Leicester Till I Die, called Project Reset. And we've looked at all different aspects of
Hmm.
why things have gone, so bad this season. And I'm just about to arrange the last one, which is number 8 in the series, which is how much blame do the players take? And I'm
Yeah.
hoping to get Steve Leinix on, who is obviously an ex-Leicester City player. You probably don't know him, but he's an ex-player. But he says he calls a stone a stone. Shall we put it that way?
Yeah. Sure.
So we'll find out. Sort of, do players hang up and don't bother for a manager? At the end of the day, the manager is the one that makes the decisions.
Mm.
If somebody is playing badly, then it's up to the manager to take him out the team. It's up to the manager to give him training. Look, you're a sales manager. I've been a sales manager.
Yeah.
One of your team isn't selling, and you're looking at that and going, "Oh, she was selling well last year, but she figures well down this year. I'll leave it. I'll give her another, year and see how it goes." No, you're going to look at that and go, "Is she absolutely that bad that we need to get rid of her, or is she? If I give her some training, why isn't she selling?
Mm.
Is it a closing so I can give her some training on closing? Do you know what I'm saying?" So
Yeah.
the manager, the book stops with the manager. If the manager gets it wrong, then the book stops with Top.
Yeah. And let's talk about Top actually, because
Mm.
I was hoping, because we get on really, really well, as everybody knows. We go down the pub, we live quite close
We
to
don't
each.
get on well at all. I can't stand you. It's just that you're
No, you're
local.
just a twat, in you. You do. Let's be honest. You're a twat. You keep taking the piss out of Margot Robbie and all sorts of stuff. You're in Bournemouth. You should support Bournemouth.
You love me, really. You
I
love me,
do love
really.
you, really. I
I
do.
have a soft spot for you, mate. It's a swamp at the bottom of the garden. Uh, yeah, I did actually say on one show I did recently. I do actually look when I came down
Yeah.
here, and as I've said this many, many times, Bournemouth were collecting pound coins or whatever it was
Mm.
in the buckets outside the pavilion. I've seen that journey from close
Yeah.
hand. Look, I've come down. I was born in Leicester. I'm always going to be a Leicester fan. But I feel that season when we won the Premier League, had we not done that, you would have been the story to have come from where you were to the Premier League and then
Yeah.
stayed up. So I have lived that with you. So I do have a soft spot for Bournemouth. I do.
Yeah, see.
Just can't stand you.
But I tell you what, let's talk about top because, of course, I would love to have seen Leicester stay up in the Premier League mainly because of our friendship, and I can just rip
Yes.
the piss out of you all season, and it's an easy 6 points. But um, talking about talking about top, how much is he to blame for this whole PSR mess, or do you actually blame the footballing authorities? Because let's be honest, the EFL have got a hell of a lot wrong recently. Of course, we've spoken before about the Reading situation and the Premier League allowing Reading's former chairman to take over at Reading when the Premier League said no, he's not allowed with Hull City. And if he had got them promoted that year, he would have had to sell the club straight away. But how much do you put down to the EFL because of Leicester's situation, or do you think it's all top?
You can't blame the EFL or the Premier League for what the charges are. We voted on that. We voted for them. We voted for the changes or whatever. You can't say, "Well, I want to join the Ferndown Country Club," and then say, "Well, I don't want to wear a tie." Well, if those are the rules, those are the rules. You do the rules when you join. So we have to abide by them. We found a loophole last year. We didn't do anything illegal, but we found a loophole.
Yeah.
Although having said that, I had Kieran Maguire on this afternoon talking about the current PSR. As he said last time, there's no loopholes in the law, just badly written laws and rules. We, as any club would do, looked at it and went, "We can't charge us because of this, this, and this." And we got away with it. So they were always going to come back for us. And don't forget, PSR, FFP, whatever you want to call it, is a 3-year cycle. So if we break that this year, that's still going to be on our record for 2 years. It's still going to be included in those 3-year set of figures.
Yeah.
The ones that we disputed, that we actually got round, have actually now dropped off. And we've gone down from 100 and odd million to 19 million. So we've made a huge stride towards it. Yes, you can feel bitter and say, like, the rules are stupid, blah, 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 blah. But I say we voted for it. You could say, well, that's like, a prisoner on death row voting to bring back hanging. But we as clubs did. We had the chance to vote against it. There was a majority. We didn't do that. We voted for it. So we have to accept those rules. And I'm a bit fed up. Look, we loved the chairman before he died in the helicopter accident.
Yes.
And I understand that Toppy's son has gone through a hell of a lot, but so do other people in everyday life. We all lose parents through, bad things and what have you.
Yeah.
How long do we carry on blaming him for that? He's got people around him that have no idea what they're doing. Now look, we've got director of football, John Rudkin. Nobody likes him. If the Bogs got stuck, wouldn't work in the away end, he'd get the blame for that. But he is the director of football. Top trusts him because he was there for Top through all that trouble with his dad. And whilst Top has been there, he has moved up the ranks under Top and Vichai, and Top trusts him.
Yeah.
He's no effing idea what he's doing. Susan Whelan, our CEO. Now, I found this out today, right?
Yeah.
It's not much of an exclusive because it was on my show earlier. I have put it all over social media. But one of the things we're being charged with by the Premier League is that we failed to get our accounts in on time for the 23-24, whatever it was. But they had to be in by the 31st of December, 2024.
Yeah.
It's like if you're self-employed, you have to get your tax in by the 5th of April or whatever it is. You know the date. Yeah. And if you don't, you could be fined, right?
Yes.
They've got to be in. They were signed off by our accountants on the 19th of December.
Hmm.
They were signed off by Susan Whelan on the 19th of December.
Yeah.
And we were late getting them in.
Why?
Well, I'm sorry. To me, it smacks of, we're trying to do a little bit of a, and slide things under the table and what have you.
Yeah.
And obviously back in December, we didn't know whether we were going up or down or whatever. And I'm sorry, that's the sort of when that's the sort of person you've got running your football club, that's scary.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it's not unfamiliar. But, of course, Leicester City are in a lot better place than a lot of football clubs.
Oh, God, yes. Don't get me wrong. We are not going to go out of business. We're not going to go to administration.
No, most definitely. But
Klopp paid off £90 million worth of loan last, this season. The argument is that he got us £90 million worth of debt, but he paid it off into shares. It's like a lot of clubs with owners, and I'm sure you're the same as well. He's got more money than he can actually spend. But those rules are there to make sure that we don't have another Reading or another Bury or something like that.
Well, to be honest, he wouldn't have been able to spend a single penny in the Wetherspoons last week, would he? The Cherry Fox.
No. Well, they don't take dollars anyway, do they?
No, they don't actually. No, they don't. But I tell you what, how much of a shitty stick is the EFL going to give you when you come back through their doors? Because surely it's happened now 2 years ago. It's 2 years old, this situation.
Yes, but
or are
like
they waiting with the shitty stick in the drawer?
Yes. When's the shit? If it looks like a shitty stick, smells like a shitty stick, it's a shitty stick. But like I say, these things are a 3-year cycle. Like I say, what you do now stays in your figures for PSR purposes for 3 seasons. So yes, that's still there. The interesting thing is now that because of our actions and the fact that we said, oh no, you can't charge us for being in the Premier League when we're in the EFL, etc., that the EFL and the Premier League have come together. I sound like a Beatles song. They've come together and are now operating as one, if you like, when it comes to this.
Yes.
Now, there's rumours that it could be 12 points. There's rumours it might only be 6. If we suddenly start behaving nicely and going, thank you very much, sir, bend over, let me lick your arse, then they might reduce it to 4, like with Nottingham Forest, where they had a higher one and then it was dropped, etc. That annoying thing for me with that is that we're getting done for not co-op. And one of the other things we're being charged with, as well as the late things and the going over budget, is not cooperating with them.
Yeah.
As in, we objected and we actually put an argument forward. Now, if you're charged with something, you're not always going to say, hands up, Gov, I did it. You're going to say, well, I'm not sure. I need to put a defence forward. So you actually get punished for actually saying, you might be wrong in this case.
It doesn't make any sense. And you know what my view is on points deductions, Chris. It happened, of course, Everton, Forest beforehand. I know you're not a fan of Forest, but, at the end of the day, points deductions, I hate them regardless of what club they are. However, there doesn't seem to be any fucking consistency here, because what they got is, let's take the Everton example. This was the Premier League. They gave him so many points. Then they gave him so many points, only to deduct him so many points again.
But it was 2 different incidences. The first 2 were for one set of money.
Yeah.
And that was wrong because they docked them 10 points.
Yeah.
You only get docked 9 points if you go into administration.
Mm.
So they gave them back. Then they did give them more points deduction, but that was for a second incident.
Yeah. But what I'm saying, Chris, though, is what is the basis of, it could be 12, it could be 6, it could be 4.
Exactly.
No.
No.
There's no consistency.
You are 100% right there. there is no. They need to put it down and go. You do this, it's this many points. You do that, it's that many points. And they have to have some sort of deterrent in there, because if they said, like, oh, you do this, we're going to fine you. Well, Man City would be laughing all the way to the bank.
Well,
Where's the check? We'll just fill your own amount in. So it has to be something like points deductions, but it has to be sensible, because there's no point in, like with Reading and like with Derby and Bolton, and I know whatever I think about Forest and Derby, I don't want those clubs to go out of business.
yeah,
I don't want any club to go out of business, whether I like them or not, because it's the heart of the community. But there's no point in docking points. So you dock points, and that sends them down. So they're down in a lower league, which will bring in less money and giving them less chance to sort of get back on an even keel.
yeah.
I don't know what the answer is. You can ask 20 club chairmen and they'll come up with 20 different things that you could do. But look, my attitude now is just accept it.
Yeah.
We'll take our punishment and let's just move on.
But what is the punishment for the crime? They haven't got it written down. They should have it written down. Right. Administration is the only one I think they have got written down. 10 points they get deducted if you go into administration. The rest of it just seems, we'll just make it up as we go along. And in this situation, they haven't got a precedent.
And it's been sent to an independent, so it's not actually the FA that are going to decide. It will be an independent adjudicator, and then we can appeal if necessary, and on and on and on and on it will go. It does need to be written down, but I suppose it's like anything else. If you've got a set of rules, somebody will find another rule to break. There's got to be rules for clubs like Chelsea where they tell the women's football teams back to themselves and they claim that against PSR. There's got to be rules against everything. And, it's like, you could go out and murder somebody. I could go out and
do that.
Well, there's a few people I'd want to, but I could go out. I could go, present company excluded, of course. If
you murder down the Cherry Fox, you know who's done it.
I love you, Craig. No, so you could go out and murder somebody, and I could go out where I live and I can murder somebody. We could get different sentences.
Yeah.
There might be a minimum, but we could get different sentences. So for everything, it's hard to put we don't have if you're found guilty of murder, you get 20 years. It doesn't, and I just want it to, I just don't like, because there's talks about the EFL with a management plan. Now, I have to say, having spoken to Kieran Maguire earlier, what I thought the management plan was and what it actually is are two different things. And it is actually a bit like Ofcom coming into the school and going like, you need to improve this, you need to improve that. You need to cut cut your outgoings by 30 million. But it's up to you how you do it. Now, whether that's selling one big name or two or three upcoming youngsters, that's up to you. They don't actually go and say, you've got to sell Bilal Al-Khanous or you've got to sell Mansa Mansa. It's up to you. If you don't do it, then they'll come back and go, guys, we told you to do this. We're going to have to maybe dock some more points. So it's not as bad, because I thought they would come along and go, you've got to sell him. Or like somebody's coming with an offer for, let's say Ben Nelson, because he's being linked with Chelsea. Somebody's coming with an offer for youngster Ben Nelson, who, for me, I would be building my defence around next season.
Yeah.
And I thought like the EFL, this management plan would say, look, you've got an offer, you've got to accept it. Mm-hmm. No, we don't. As long as we fall into what they've told us to do, we can decide. So it's probably not as bad as. And the other thing as well is it might be a higher points deduction because, of course, there's more games in the EFL. You play 46 games compared to 38. So my argument was, well, let's take us the 6, 7, 8 points, whatever, because we've got another 15, 16 to play for. No, we haven't, because they take that into account. So if you're in the EFL, your points deduction will probably be the percentage increase as to what it would be compared in the Premier League.
Is there an
Can
argument?
I just say, you're really cheering me up. Thank you.
Is there? I am, aren't I? But is there an argument, right? And I heard this from Simon Jordan.
There's always an argument, mate. There's always an argument.
Especially when Simon Jordan's on.
Yes.
And I heard it from Simon Jordan, and he was like, you get a wealthy owner, great. Look at Man City. Look at Chelsea. They've benefited from it. Why should a team like Leicester, like Forest, like Everton, you could even throw Newcastle into this, not spend if they have that opportunity? Or do they have to turn around and say, look, you're a smaller club, you can't do it because of the Sheffield Wednesdays, the Readings, the Derbys, the Bolton Wanderers of this world?
The Leicesters, we've gone into administration twice, managed to come out of it.
Yeah.
Look, if they said you've got a rich owner, you can spend what you want, then you might as well give the title to Manchester City or Newcastle for the next 25 years.
Yeah.
That's the problem. I mean, I think personally, because look, we complain about how rich Man City and Newcastle and all those are.
Yeah.
Doesn't guarantee you success. Man United, it doesn't though. Money doesn't guarantee you success. Manchester United had lots of money during the Liverpool era in the 70s, 80s, but they never won anything.
No.
They got a good manager in, combined, and then it all went off. Now, Sheffield Wednesday next season, QPR. I can't think who else is still down there. Coventry or whatever. We'll look at Leicester like we look at at Newcastle and Man City, because our owners compared to theirs are rich.
Yeah,
we can't spend over the budget because we could end up like Reading.
Yeah.
Or Bolton or Bury. I can understand them saying this because if we go out, we could go out very easily and spend £60 million on a player.
Yeah.
How can we afford to do that? It's like it's like your work saying to everybody, we're going to give every salesperson a company car and it's going to be a Rolls Royce. That's very nice, but the business wouldn't sustain it.
No.
So I mean, my thought about it was, and this is something that they do. I worked many years in the travel business, and so if you've ever gone on holiday, you've heard of ABTA, probably you've heard of Atoll or Atoll, however you want to pronounce it. And what a tour company does, based on the size of how big it is, i.e., how many passengers it takes on holiday, it puts money into a fund.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you remember those companies like Intersun.
Yes, yeah.
That go out of business, and you are guaranteed, if you've booked through a company, or basically it was a travel agent that is an ABTA registered travel agent, you did not lose your holiday. Mm-hmm. So you got your holiday because it was paid for out of the fund. So Intersun would put X million in, Thompson's, as was TUI now, would put X money in, Clark, all these different companies would put all this different money in, and it would mean that if one of them went out of business, then the money was there to charter aeroplanes to get people back or to carry on running that airline until everybody was home. And if you got a holiday booked in advance and you hadn't gone, you got your money back so you could book another one.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong. Why can't you do that? Why can't these clubs put money into a fund, and then let's say, for example, Everton, because they've got new owners, and say those new owners a little bit naughty, didn't tell the whole truth and were filling the books or whatever, then the money's there to cover them.
Yeah.
Not saying it would work. It's just an idea that I think might work.
It makes sense because football has got this ownership problem, and as I've covered in so much detail with fans of other clubs, be it Swindon, Reading,
Yeah.
Wimbledon, you name it, it has got this problem. But yeah, I think there is something that needs to happen in like an independent regulator just to make sure. But Leicester's owners aren't bad. It's just a case that maybe just misguided.
We sailed too close to the sun. Everybody remembers Leeds United.
Yes.
Under O'Leary.
Yes.
David O'Leary. They were riding high. They were champions of the Premier League. They were at the semi-final of what is the Champions League now, but was the European Cup back then. And they went for it. Then they suddenly didn't get European football the next year. But they budgeted for it. And then they had to have fire sales, and they were giving managers jobs and then couldn't give them money to strengthen the squad. Does that sound familiar? Yes, it does. And that's what we did. We won the bloody Premier League. The trophy's there, by the way, just in case you wonder what it looks like. We won the Premier League. Sorry, mate. We won the Premier League. Yeah, well, hopefully you will. I'd love to see another club do a Leicester. Whether they ever will or not, I don't know, but I'd love to see it. Look, I love Nottingham Forest hopefully getting into the Champions League. Because if they do that, it means some of the big ones have missed out.
Yes.
And Forest aren't a big club anymore. No disrespect to them, but not in the big six sense. But no, we won the Premier League. We got to the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Just like to slip that in. And Aston Villa. And then we finished fifth twice.
Yeah.
Nearly getting into the Champions League. Not quite, but ending up in Europe. Getting through to the semi-final. So we had that success. And when you've had that sort of success, you've got to spend money to carry that success on.
Yeah, 100%.
Because, as much as we won that, other clubs lost it that season when we won the Premier League. Liverpool, Klopp hadn't settled in yet. Arsenal were being Arsenal. Spurs were Spurs. Man City announced that the manager was leaving with about 3 months to go, so the players just sort of gave up. So it was like the perfect storm. But for us to carry on that, once we'd done that, we had to spend the money.
Yes.
And on that season, we got relegated. We were told, and this is where the chairman has to take the blame for poor communication. He was warned by UEFA, look, you've been in the Europa, Europe twice in the Europa League. We've let you get away with this because of COVID.
Yeah.
But now you're going to have to watch, basically, UEFA's PSR.
Mm-hmm.
And we went, oh, shit, okay. And that's why we didn't buy anybody. That's why when Brendan Rodgers wanted his rebuild, we didn't get a rebuild because the money wasn't there. We didn't know as fans because our club don't talk to us. Anyway, but we didn't budget for getting relegated.
Mm-hmm.
But we did. We'd budgeted to go being back in Europe again. But because we couldn't spend. And then, again, down to the club, players on extremely good wages for average sort of standard players. But we had to pay these wages to get them to come to Leicester. And like I say, just going too close to the sun, we got burnt. And now we're paying the cost. Hopefully, and this is why I want to sort of say, take our pill, swallow it, and let's move on. Hopefully, we don't become Luton Mark II. Let's be honest with you, Leeds went right down to the third tier. Portsmouth, Portsmouth under your mate, Harry, they were in the Premier League and did they win the FA Cup under him as well?
Yeah, they did win the FA Cup. And
and then they went right down to the fourth tier.
Yeah, they did. They did. And there's so many teams, look at Wigan, they're down there. They were in the Premier League for years.
Won the FA Cup and
Um,
got relegated the same year.
Yep, Derby County were lucky to stay up this year.
Yeah.
So there's lots and lots and lots of these teams. So yeah, I'm sure you'll be absolutely fine though, Chris. And I'm rooting for you in the Championship next season.
Thank you. Next season, obviously we need to come up for financial reasons. And I was just on Talksport before I came on here, and they asked me this question. You want to come up for financial reasons because it's where the money is in the Premier League. But I think Leeds have got a better chance of staying up than us, Ipswich and Southampton this season, because they've had that extra season down below, if you like. They came down with us, and they've had that extra season. Get rid of players that don't want to be there. Big clubs have come in, and the players have obviously gone, so they've not wanted to be with Leeds. Brought the youth through, sold some players that they didn't want, got some money in, and I think they'll come up stronger, and I think they've got a fair chance of staying up.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree, and in fact, what we did was we spent a year down there, of course, after blowing it against Brentford. And, it meant that we could restructure a little bit. Yeah, okay, Scott the Bin Man Parker come in. But, he, to be honest, he's a good Championship manager, as he's shown with Fulham, he's shown with Burnley. But it meant that we could restructure everything and, get through a lot of the youngsters that were going to serve us so well. So, yeah, it was... to be honest, looking back, blessing in disguise. But I tell you what, looking at back at a player who has done very well, you've got his shirt up there. Some people, dislike the man, but I don't. I think he's brilliant. James Vardy.
Maddison.
James Maddison. No, not him.
I've got his shirt there. Look, there's his shirt.
Yeah, I can see that shirt. But I mean the other one.
I know
Mr.
you do.
Vardy, Mr. Vardy, he's having a party.
Jamie Vardy, yes.
So, Jamie Vardy, could he have not have played another season at Leicester?
Probably not.
Why?
This season, we should not have relied on a 39-year-old to be our number one striker.
Yeah.
That said, he's got he's our top scorer with 9 goals. Bloody hell! Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That says it all.
Yeah.
But we could have had, Messi playing for us up front, and he wouldn't have got 9 goals because we never got the ball to him. That was the trouble. The style of play we played did not suit Jamie Vardy.
Yeah.
We got your bum buddy Paxton Daka, who's absolutely rubbish. Daka does Devon. I wish he would. And he's had so much chances, and he didn't even do it last time when we were in the Championship, so he's not going to do it next season.
No.
Daka, the idea with Jamie Vardy is we should have been using him as that last 10-15 minute substitute when the opposition are knackered and suddenly they see Jamie Vardy downing a Red Bull at the side of the pitch and coming on, and they're on the pitch shitting themselves because a fit Jamie Vardy, even at 39, could probably outrun most of them. That's how we should have been using him. But we didn't have another striker. We had Edouard, who we're paying 90 grand a week just to sit at home and do his knitting. Why we loaned him and then he never gets anywhere near the squad, God knows. Daka, like I say, who couldn't hit a barn door with a banjo. Tom Cannon was our other striker who we sold. So we'll never know how good he could be. Jordan Ayew, who in fairness, I've got to say I wasn't keen on when we signed.
Yeah.
But I think he could be our good number one striker next season because what Crystal Palace said when we bought him, what the Palace fans told me was he will hold the ball up for you. He will get you free kicks in dangerous positions because not necessarily, proper free kicks, but he'll get a free kick.
Yeah.
First thing he did when he played for us in the first game, his first touch, he went down and got a free kick, which was brilliant. But you can imagine him holding the ball up for Fatawu, Mavadidi, El Kanous, those three coming up behind and popping it in. Or if El Kanous goes, Will Alves or Jeremy Monga. So AU quite good. And the other one we got is Bobby Dakova-Reid. Oh,
Yes.
why? I mean, I don't know. So we've struggled with the strike, but if Jamie Vardy shouldn't have been our number one striker. He will go somewhere, whether that's one of the promoted clubs, Burnley, not Leeds. I'll never mention his name again if he goes to Leeds or Forest. I don't think he will. He could go to Sheffield Wednesday for a season, which is his home club, but he's ruled a championship team out because he doesn't want to play against us. People said you're going to miss him. 1,000,000% are we going to miss him? And not necessarily for his goals, because like I say, he's only scored 9 this season. We're going to miss his sportsmanship because against, I forget who it was we played. Who did we play last week before Ipswich? But anyway, he could have scored.
Chris.
Sorry? The
one, hasn't it? This
trying
season.
to blank it out. Oh, Forest! It was Nottingham Forest. Of course, we got 2-2. Stop them getting into the Champions League automatically. He had a chance to score in that game. He played one ball off to Brunette, who scored, and he played another ball off to Jeremy Monga, who said, "Go on, mate, score a goal, get the record for being the youngest ever goal scorer in the Premier League." He did both of those when he could have gone for his 200th goal. That's the sportsman we're going to miss. We're going to miss his leadership. Yes, he's a captain, but he's a big voice. Some would say sometimes too big, and maybe managers have gone because of him. But he is a voice. He is a leader, both on and off the pitch. And I'll put it bluntly: we are mainly going to miss his shithousery because he was being interviewed afterwards.
Yeah.
After the game, and you came on. I think it was on the watch along and went, "Thank God he's not playing next week." But he said, and they're saying like, "Well done, you got your 200th goal." Blah blah blah. He said, "Yeah." He said, "When I scored it, there was no way I was going to do anything else." He said, "With all the dog's abuse that the Ipswich fans had given me, the only one thing I was going to do was celebrate in front of them." And he's the sort of player that if he was in your team, you'd love him.
Yeah.
But he ends in any other team. And I understand why that was his last game, because that was 13 years to the day that we signed him.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, why is that his last day? I know it's his home game, but give him the send-off afterwards. But we need him against Bournemouth. But I understand now why they did it. And that was his 500th game, his 200th goal. What a man. He's not one of our own.
Yeah.
But he is, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure everybody, apart from Wayne Rooney, wishes him well. Wayne and Colleen. The Sun newspaper. Colin choked it, Chris. Oh, dear.
But he killed me off.
He had to turn his camera off because he was probably sprayed bloody cake everywhere. There we are,
sorry.
everybody. You could have seen that.
I'm sorry, Margot. I didn't mean to spit on you then. It's usually the other way around, isn't it?
And so it descends into chaos. Oh,
I've been very good.
You have. God, bloody
yes,
hell.
I forget what the question was now, but yeah, we're going to miss him, and I wish him all the best wherever he goes. And it will be very, very strange to see him in another team shirt.
Yeah.
But at least it won't be terrorising us, because if we play him, a team that he's in, he will score against us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, most definitely. You never know. He might turn up here,
He could do a job for you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that you need. I say you shouldn't be making him your main striker. But
No.
like I say, give him that. He could come down with his kids. He got the beach here.
Exactly.
He got the delights of Las Vegas. There's so much that could attract him down here. And you got the Bournemouth wheel. I mean, who would want to come and live where they've got the Bournemouth wheel?
I know.
But no, you do it.
Sorts.
In fact, I was in a Palace chat the other day, and on their channel, and wishing them well because congratulations to them for winning the FA Cup. And they said, "Oh, sorry to see Vardy go and what have you." And they said, "We'll have him." Those last 10, 15 minutes.
Exactly. I think he's still got it. And there's not many other 38, 39-year-olds like. Oh, hang on. Hello. Oh, hello, Ruud. Yes. What? You want an old boy to replace Vardy? Yeah. And Chris has put in a really good word. Said I've got the silky skills. That's very nice of him, isn't it? Yeah. I'll be in training, but I don't wish you luck at the weekend, Ruud. No. That's all right. Yeah, I'll see you Monday morning. Ruud van Nistelrooy. Oh, hang on. Chris is
Babe station. Oh my. That's what you were doing.
Oh yeah, babe station, Margot.
There'll be a number come up in a minute across the bottom. 0898.
Yeah, where they just start waving the face. Oh dear, it descends into chaos, this show. Right, let's get back to the football. So, Ruud van Nistelrooy, nobody's very fond of him in Leicester.
No.
There's a rebuild that's needed.
Yes.
Who leads this rebuild? Who do you want to lead this rebuild?
I'm doing a show later on today, and just, don't mind me saying, because we've been linked with Russell Martin.
Russell Martin?
Yeah. What this club needs to do is decide what type of football it wants to do moving forward. Because what I'm going to say about Enzo is, look, he moved on, and at the time I hated him. And if I was driving through Leicester and I saw him, I would have run him over.
Yeah.
But he did what he did what he did. He got us promoted, and but he was offered a better job. And if we were all offered a better job, we'd all go. I've done it many times. I know nobody'd have you, but you never know. But what he did, I know how much you earn. Remember, what he did was he said, "This is the way I play.
Mm-hmm.
Don't come to me and say you don't like this, you don't like that." Like he said to Christensen, "I want you to play in this position." And Christian said, "No, I don't like that position." So he sent him out on loan for a season.
Yeah.
So he had his plan and he stuck with it. But what he also did was the under-23s, 21s, 19s, kiddies, they all played the same.
Mm-hmm.
So that when somebody came up promoted, they knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah.
So we have to decide, is this style of football how we want to play? Or do we want to play the Sean Dyche role? In the short term, Sean Dyche would be good for us. He'd take no bloody messing. He would keep, the players under control, etc. But he plays a certain way. Now, you could argue, and some people will argue, that he played that way because that was the only sort of players he could afford. Because Burnley at that point were a well-off club, shall we say. But look, he got Burnley into Europe playing that way. What Sean Dyche will probably do is get us promoted, and possibly keep us up, maybe 17th.
Yeah,
he's unlikely now to get us into Europe. He's unlikely to win anything under him. So it would have to be a short-term contract. The problem is that when he goes, do you bring in the manager with who wants to play a different way, and then you're back to square one, or do you so you've got so I think you've got the way Sean Dyche, nothing against the guy, but I think it's a bit like Sam Allardyce. Those types of manager, the time's come and the time's gone. So you need to bring in a rude style manager and do basically what Enzo did. Play it throughout the club, all the different levels. I'd say this is the way we're going to play for the next 5-6 managers. But have somebody lined up so when you're in that position like Enzo, you then don't go on your knees trying to suck Graham Potter's cock and say, come and manage us. Because they turn around and say no, you end up with Steve Cooper.
Oh dear.
So it's not got to be rude. It's not got to be Steve. It's not going to be Ruud van Nistelrooy. And please, God, don't let it be Russell Martin.
I think you'd probably prefer Chris Martin.
Yes,
the lead singer of Coldplay.
At least we could have a sing song with him.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Or
prefer
Robbie Williams, or Richie Neville, or Richard Archer, or Tom Meehan.
Funny enough, no, not Tom Meehan, because he'd hit you around the face to make sure you played well. He'd have a couple of cans of Stella, then knock you around. Allegedly. Tommy Robinson? You've not mentioned Tommy Robinson yet?
No, we're not even. No, not in a million years would anybody have. He's
going to have him on here. You heard it here first, everybody.
I'm not. If he writes an email, I'll tell him where to go.
You've had wife beaters on here.
Almighty! Oh dear!
Allegedly,
yes.
Think all those names you mentioned, and most of those are people you've had on your show.
Well, exactly. That's the whole point. Although saying that, Chris Martin. Oh, hang on. Hello, Chris. Yes. You're on tour. Yes, you're gonna do it afterwards. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Look forward to welcoming you on. There you are, Chris. Oh, hang on. Got another one. They're all up there. Hello. Oh, hello, Robbie. Yeah. It's only us. It's only us that can have you on. Yes. Yeah. He's the one. Yeah. Cheers, Robbie. Yeah. Well, when are you coming on? Yeah. It will be entertaining. Yeah. Cool. Cheers, Robbie. There you are.
Can I just say to everybody that is watching this, thank God we do not live in Craig's world. Very, very scary place. The only thing you do if you had either of them two on is practice your Paddy Vet routine.
Do you know what? We absolutely love each other, Chris, don't we? Honestly,
I can't stand you. Stop pretending.
No, actually,
we have a love-hate relationship. He loves me, and I hate him. Get on before your phone rings again. Get another call in.
The twat over the internet. Well, I'll tell you what. Seeing as we've been going on for almost, over an hour now, we better predict this game. Do you really
Time flies when you're having fun.
Exactly.
Which is why it's dragged for me.
Oh,
love you, mate. I love you dearly.
Likewise, mate. Likewise. How is this game going to go? Do you give a toss really about it?
Yes, because, and I know, again, Kieran Maguire said earlier, it doesn't really matter whether you finish 18th or 19th, you've had a shitty season. The fact that we are now third from bottom, we are the best of the worst, if you like. Yeah. I know I'm clinging at straws here. I'm like, this is how bad our season has become. Feel for me. Bear with me here. But when we came up, we were champions, Ipswich second, Southampton playoffs. That's how it should finish. Now, the problem is that we've got you away. Ipswich have got West Ham home. So I can actually see Ipswich getting something against West Ham. I'm not sure we'll get anything against Bournemouth. Playing in sort of, your shed, we don't usually. I joke, everybody.
It's
I
offended
joke.
the whole of the locals.
Yes. I mean, I've got to say that I love the fact that your temporary stand has lasted as long as it has. For about 11 seasons, it's been a temporary stand.
Oh,
No, look, I like Bournemouth. I live down here. I keep an eye on them. I love the story that you've gone through. And I do all this in jest and banter. If it was Forest, I'd mean it. But, with Bournemouth, I'd have a soft spot for them. I don't think we're going to get anything against you. We're not going to be able to. Well, the one guy that can score us goals has left. He's not playing for us anymore. The other guys like Mavididi and Atu are injured. Ayu might come on and get a goal. He has been known to score a goal. He got one against Southampton. Two against Southampton, I believe. Do you know what, though? I'd love that even if you beat us, that Jeremy Monga gets a goal.
Yeah, I like him. He's only a youngster,
15.
he's
15. He's that young that he cannot have a logo on his shirt because it's a betting company.
I know. I couldn't believe that.
He played on Sunday against Ipswich, and on Monday he had a GCSE exam. We are probably going to lose him because Man City are sniffing around. Now he's 15, so whatever we get for him will be decided by a tribunal.
Yeah.
Because, of course, Man City want as many English players as they can, and, it helps with their money battles. The fact that we've played him as often as we have, he's played about 8 or 9 games, on and off, sort of coming on. So the fact that we've done that will mean we'll get more money for him. But I'd just love him to get a goal in a Leicester shirt. I really, really would. I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to go for a 2-2. Do
you know what? This has got no bearing now, apart from going up a couple of places. We'd like to finish in the top half, Chris.
Yeah.
I think everything feels a little bit flat after the Man City game, which was a little bit flat throughout. Albeit Marmoush's goal was unbelievable, fantastic, but we weren't at the races. Do you know what? I could see you actually getting something down here, and it's mainly because it's flat. It's flat. It's been a great season, but it's just kind of tailed off. It's just kind of gone floppy at the last moment, really.
Go. Speed up.
So, yeah, I'm going to go... I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. We'll just be different, but I will say Monga's going to score.
I mean, you're not. Yeah, we don't want floppy, do we? No.
Yeah, if I took some Viagra a little bit earlier on.
Yeah, at my age, mate, I need more than fucking Viagra.
Is that a player? Oh, hang on. Hold on.
Oh, here we go.
Hello, Graham. Oh, Graham Souness on the phone. Yeah. What? Yeah. You're asking me about what's his name? It sounds Brazilian. Viagra. Right. Okay. You think he could keep Leicester up next time they come up? Well, yeah. Are you sure he's not another Ali Dia? You're pretty certain about it. Okay, no problem. Yeah, I'll let Chris know that he's getting some Viagra. Okay, great stuff. There you are, Chris.
1 second, mate. I'm getting a call now. Yeah, hi. Oh, Gary! Hi, how you doing? It's Gary O'Neill. Yes, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm talking to a Bournemouth fan now. I'm sure he'd love you back. Yeah, because you did so well at Wolves, didn't you? I'm sure. Yeah, I mean that's the sort of standard that Bournemouth want. Yeah. And to be honest with you, if your wife doesn't want to come with you, then just pop round and see Craig because he absolutely loves you. I tell you what, yeah, wheelbarrow, whatever position you want, mate. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'll put a word in for you. I'll put a word in. But I think the job's yours, mate. I think the job is yours. All right, mate. I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye. Oh, it's Gary.
Was it Gary? It could have
Gary,
been
Gary
worse.
O'Neill.
It could have been Jimmy Quinn. Could have been Jimmy Quinn.
I wondered who you were going to say then. And I'm not going to say it.
Oh dear, oh dear.
You never
And
get
on,
that.
yes, I get the terminology. You know
Yeah.
everything. You clever man. Right, and on that bombshell, I think we need to end. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for having me on, mate, and all the best for next season, mate. Hope you get high up the table next season. Good luck next week. Next season.
Thanks, mate, and no doubt we'll catch up very, very soon. Anyway,
Down the pub.
yes, down the pub. Don't you get pissed now?
Me?
Yeah, you bad influence.
Yes, right.
Yeah. Cheers, Chris. And there we go. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell button below. It helps the channel to grow. Do go check out Leicester Till I Die as well. You can find Chris's videos, which are absolutely fantastic, on there. Do also check out all of our previous interviews. Leicester fans, you'll be interested to know we had David Icke on the show. We've also had Tom Meehan on the show. We've also had the likes of Richie Neville, Richard Archer from Hardfi. We've had Gaz Whelan from the Happy Mondays and Yogi G and the Family Tree. We've had Damon Minchella from Ocean Colour Scene. We have had tons and tons and tons of special guests. I could spend all this time talking about them, but just go find them on the interview tab and go check out my journeys around Singapore and also the UAE recently as well. Like I say, thank you everybody for who's tuned in this season and subscribed. Like I say, we're going to be back next season without a shadow of a doubt with more content. Make sure you follow us and we'll see you then.
The Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.